think of a time before central heating. How did people keep warm? Well, if you're a lucky lady, it might be this. Personal central heating system for one. Here's Heather to explain more.
A quilt is normally a bed cover and it's made out of 3 layers. So you have a top layer, a bottom layer, and then a warm central filling. Between those layers you have lots of different stitching, and this helps to keep everything together. So sometimes the top layer is decorative, and you can do that with patchwork, and that's where you cut out different shapes and you join them together in different ways to create different patterns. So it's not just bed covers that use the quilting technique, there are various other objects as well. For example, we have a petticoat, which is from the Victorian period, from about 1860, and also things like dressing gowns and bed jackets, like this one from the 1930s.
So could you tell me how a quilt's made?
Yes, of course. Well, there are lots of different ways that you can make quilts, and from lots of different materials. So we can make them from cotton, from silk and wool, as well as different artificial and man-made fibres too. And we can do it by hand sewing or machine sewing. So simple hand sewing with a needle and thread, which goes just through all the 3 layers, holding them together, or by sewing machine. And this one is from the Victorian period, when domestic sewing machines became available. And so it's a similar concept, but the needle goes up and down on the machine and lock stitches things in place.
How are the different patterns made?
Well, one of the ways to create different patterns is through patchwork. And one of those types uses paper templates, which creates different shapes which can be joined together like a giant mosaic. In order for everything to lay flat, everything needs to tessellate perfectly. So the octagons can join with squares, and pentagrams can join with octagons and diamonds. So great care needs to be taken when measuring each of these angles, because wherever all the shapes meet into a point, it has to add up to 360 degrees in total.
Why aren't quilts used as much as they were in the past?
Well, now we have lots of different choices of things we can put on our beds. And one of the reasons is because duvets are a lot more popular, whereby you can change the covers of duvets, and it's a lot more washable and easy to maintain, whereas many quilts can't be washed in the same way.
Many thanks to Heather and everybody else at the Quilters Guild. Back to the studio.